Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, it's lovely to have you. But if you're old, hey boo, it's nice to have you back. Today I present to you this amazing, delicious, beautiful looking rich Ghana meat pie. Now at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how moist and delicious and flaky this meat pie is. It is the best. If you've been looking for the best recipe, this is your final stop. So let's get right into it. We're going to use some potatoes and carrots for our filling. So we're going to dice up the potatoes and get them boiling or to cook. So I'm going to add it in the pot and then I'm going to cook it with some salt. We're going to cook this till it's about 95% cooked. Then we're going to continue the cooking while it bakes in the oven. While that is going, we're going to cut our carrots or dice them as well. You don't want the sizes to be too big, neither do you want it to be too small to get lost in the filling, okay? So you want it to be sizable so that you can see them and enjoy them in your filling or in your pie. Next up, I'm cutting some onions. I'm cutting it as not too big, not too small. It's not too small actually, just diced up, just about the size of the carrots, okay? Also, we're going to use some scotch bonnet. This pepper is very hot, it's quite spicy, so I would advise you use about half of that, okay? But I wanted to feel a little bit of heat in my filling, so I went ahead and used a whole one. Okay, let's start with our filling now. I have some olive oil in my hot pan and I've just added half of the diced onions. Now we're going to sweat these onions a bit so that we can go in with our minced meat. We're using minced meat here because it's meat pie. This pie is delicious. Trust me when I say it's delicious. It's so good, it's rich. You will eat and eat over and over again. It is never enough for us. Anytime I make it, I have people asking me, can I come for one? Can I come for one? And before I know, it's all gone. Like I can't have the pie for more than 3 days. No, it always goes so fast. Now we're breaking up all the minced meat. And then at this point, I have some spice mix over here. I'm going to list all of them in the description box below. So check them out. I've added that to my minced meat and we're going to mix all of that together. Smells good already. You know this pie is going to come out amazing when you start smelling that rich flavor, you know. So I just added some salt to taste and I'm going to mix all of that as well. And then in a bit, I'm going to add my scotch bonnet pepper. Now remember I said the pepper is quite a bit over here because I wanted a little bit of heat, not too much heat. Okay, but if you don't want to feel the heat at all, please use just half. It's important for you to use some, so just use about half of that, okay? All right, now we're going to add some water to the filling to cook this meat very, very well. We don't want to have meat pie with uncooked meat. We need to cook it very well and it's looking good, smells good. Now it's time for us to add the rest of our onions and the carrots that we diced. I'm now adding this because I don't want it to overcook. I didn't want it to overcook. Adding it early on would have overcooked it and then I won't feel any kind of crunch at all or texture in my filling. That's why I left it and I'm just adding it when it's getting to the end. I've added my potatoes as well. And in a bit, I'm going to add cornstarch with water mixed together to thicken our sauce. Okay, yeah, this is going to thicken our filling and make it very moist. You don't want to overcook your filling. When all of the liquid gets finished in it, it's going to be dry. And when you add it to your crust or your dough and you bake it, the inside of your pie will be very dry. So make sure that by the time your filling is done, it's not dry. It's supposed to be like thick like this, but still with some moisture. Because even as it starts to cool, it's still going to lose some moisture because there's still heat that's evaporating. Okay. Now that our filling is done, we can get on with our pie dough. In a mixing bowl, in a large mixing bowl, I have some cold, ice cold flour in there. To that, I've added some baking powder, some salt and nutmeg powder. Mix everything nicely together. And now I'm adding my room temperature margarine. If my flour is not cold, I use very cold margarine, but because my flour is cold, I'm using room temperature margarine. We're gonna mix them all up together and try to get a crumb-like texture like we did. And then to that, I added an egg, and in a bit, I'm going to add some cold milk as well. Now I'm using just one hand because I don't want to incorporate too much heat into too much body heat or hand heat into the dough. Okay, so try and get only one hand in there, and then when it's time to mold your dough, you get all two hands in there. So I just added my milk and I'm mixing everything up together. I usually do this really fast so that I don't have too much melty stuff in there or too much of the margarine melting. Next up, I'm going to add some ice cold water, very ice cold. It even has ice in there if you can see. So I'm adding the ice cold water, and then we're going to mix all of that together as well and try to come up with a dough. We're going to see if we'll be able to fold or mold this dough. Now that it's time to mold the dough, I have two hands in there, and as you can see, the dough is still really flaky. Okay, I'm going to use the warmth in my palm to try and bring the dough together. If you add too much water in there, it's going to be stretchy, and I don't want it to be stretchy because I want to achieve a very a flaky crust, pie crust, and that's what makes pie really delicious. We don't want any dry crust like that, you know. So we're going to mold all of this, and then when we are done, we'll wrap it all in plastic bags just like so. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions or comments, kindly leave them in the comment section below, and I'm going to answer every single question. Also, don't forget to share the videos so that your friends and your family can also subscribe to my channel. Now, this is how our filling is looking so rich and delicious. Okay, so now on a clean work surface, we're going to add some flour, and then we can start rolling our pie dough. Now, in rolling the pie dough, you don't want to be adding too or exerting too much pressure on the dough. You need to be gentle, press and drag the rolling pin so that you don't activate any form of gluten in the crust or in the dough, because if you overwork this dough, it's going to be trying again, and then all the work we put in the beginning will just be in vain. Okay, so just gently, you can see I'm not exerting any form of pressure on this. I'm just gently pressing and dragging, or pressing and pulling the crust or the dough. Now I'm using this saucepan lid. It happens to be the perfect shape and size of pie that I always want. So that is what I'm using as a mold today. So just look around your kitchen. If you don't have a pie mold like me, you can just get a plate or just something round or whatever shape you want, and then use it to mold or cut your crust or your pie dough. Okay, now before we add the filling, you lift the dough up to make sure it's not sticking to the surface, because the last thing you want is for all your pie filling to be on the dough, and then you can't flip over your dough or you can't lift it. Like, I can't know, it can't. You don't want that. Okay, so make sure you lift it up before you add your filling. And also, just 1 spoon of the filling is actually okay for this pie. But me, I could today. Menu me you know, and the pie filling is just so good that I can't have enough. So I add so much to it, and then when it comes to sealing the pie, it becomes a hassle. But yes, I still pull through it all the time. So yeah, I'm trying to tell you, you don't have to fill the pie this much, because this filling should be able to fetch you so many pies. But I did just about 12 out of it, though I was still left with a bit. So go ahead and do whatever your heart desires. Okay, so I'm flipping that over. Take note also the thickness of the pie dough. That will also add to the nice texture. I like to have a nice bite of the pie crust as I enjoy my meat pie. Okay, also brush a little bit of water before flipping it over, so that would act as a binder. That will ensure that your pie does not burst open while you bake. Okay, now I'm going to do it one more time for you to see. And then the best thing is for you to make sure that you just have a little bit of dough you're working with at a time. If you have a big ball of dough you're working with, then you would have to keep rolling and rolling till you get the desired thickness. But if it's just little, you don't have too much rolling to do, and you don't have too much activation of gluten to do. I hope you understand that. Okay, so if you can just roll up and then cut 1 or 2, that will be perfect for you. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, it's a good time to do that. Give this video a thumbs up. I have so many other recipes you would want to try on my channel, so go ahead and watch other videos as well, and I hope you enjoy it all. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them in the comment section below and I'll attend to them all. Now I'm doing this one more time. Remember, after you cut your dough, you need to lift it off the table or the work surface just to make sure it's not sticking, and then you add your pie crust. Brush a little bit of water around the crust or the dough and then flip it over. You can also use your spoon to push the filling inside while you try to flip your dough over, just so you don't have it spilling. You don't have your filling over spilling. Now you use the side of your thumb to gently press the sides of the dough just to close it. Okay. Then I use my index finger to create these nice dents or designs at the edge of my pie. Now look how beautiful this is. Gorgeous. So we do that to the rest of our pie, and then it's time for us to do some egg washing. So this is an egg with about a tablespoon of water, and then I beat everything together and brush the top of my pie. At this time, our oven should be nice and warm, hot, ready to take our pie. I'm going to bake this pie on medium heat for between 25 to 30 minutes. So keep an eye on it after 20 minutes, depending on how your oven works. So after 20 minutes should be good time for you to start checking so that you do not burn your pie. Now our first pie is out of the oven, second pie out, the third one is still baking. Now tell me this pie doesn't look rich. This is your authentic rich Ghana meat pie. Ene kesha ne kete ona o chilled Malta Guinness another minyam fantafon enya o hati and a patutu it did go on well. Now take a look at that moist pie filling. I mean, this is to die for. We can still see our potatoes and the carrots lingering in there beautifully, and that crust is super flaky and delicious. Thank you so much for watching today's video. In the meantime, keep being loving and being supportive and being caring. Continue to stay safe as well, and don't forget to subscribe.